Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube, Diggy546? I just wanted to talk about Jaylen Hyatt today. And this is the year for him. This is the year for him. Is he going to turn things around? Is he going to finally step up and be that receiver that we thought he might be able to be? Now, coming out of Tennessee, a ton of people wanted Jaylen Hyatt in the first round. A ton of people wanted him in the first round. They were like, he's an explosive player. And I was even someone who fell for that. Now, I didn't like how he got off the line of scrimmage. I thought that he would probably there would have to be a lot done to get him free releases, but the speed was so great. The ball skills were so great that I was willing to take the risk. And at the end of the day, his biggest weakness has been the strength off the line of scrimmage, the technician, the technical ability running routes down the field, running the short routes along with those deep routes. And he has just not been able to stay on the field because of his lack of ability. And that's really unfortunate because the Giants, they didn't take him in the first round, but they did move up in the third round to take him. And when you move up to grab a guy like that in the third round, as a third round player, you want that guy to be a contributor. Now, they weren't expecting him to be a superstar. They weren't expecting him to be the type of receiver that Malik Neighbors is, but they were expecting him to come out and put up, 500, 600 yards, 700 yards, maybe, 4 or 5 touchdowns. If he can be that player, he's paying off that third round grade. Now, he was kind of drafted. It looked to be like he was drafted to be Darius Slayton's replacement. And since then, I think Darius Slayton has gotten two deals. I'm pretty sure he's gotten 2 deals since Jaylen Hyatt has been drafted. If not, maybe he had just gotten a deal and this time he's getting another deal. But I'm pretty sure he got 2 deals since Jaylen Hyatt has been drafted. And that's just because Hyatt can't do what Darius Slayton does. Slayton gives you that over the top speed, gives you that ability to make the home run, but also allows you to work underneath. Also can, run a dig route, can do everything. He can run the full route tree at this point, and this is what we need from Hyatt. Now, he doesn't have to be as good a route runner as Slayton. They're 2 different kinds of athletes, but I do want to see a guy like, and not comparing him to Deshaun Jackson because Deshaun Jackson is a lot more shiftier. But I want to see a guy like Deshaun Jackson. I want to see a guy like Mike Wallace from the Steelers, a guy that can just stretch the field, get deep, and make big plays. And I think part of this is not only his ability to not be able to get off the line of scrimmage consistently on the outside, but also coaching. Now, from our perspective, it appears that coaches have all but given up on him. We've heard reports that he's not happy and, he's upset the coaches and there's a rift there. And we've seen other people that say, there's no rift at all. He's the perfect teammate. The coaches all love him. So I'm just going to just say, I don't know what's going on in the locker room. But from the outside perspective, it seems like Jaylen Hyatt isn't a person that's favored to be on the field. He's not a guy that's trusted to be on the field consistently. And that's kind of concerning. But with the speed that he has and the ball skills that he has, you got to think that, maybe he can get on the field a little bit more than he has. Why haven't we started to run deep post out of the slot? If I'm not mistaken, Hyatt ran a deep post out of the slot on that big play against the Cardinals that, not skyrocketed, but got that comeback going against the Cardinals a couple of years ago. If I'm not mistaken, that was a deep post out of the slot. You don't have to keep getting him pressed at the line of scrimmage. How about you put him in the slot? How about you give him some free releases instead of just putting him out there and just saying, we can't do anything there. Give him some free releases because that speed, imagine if he's running a flare route, a flare route where he's kind of flaring out to the sideline from the slot, and Darius Slayton is running a deep post, and you have to decide which one of those speed guys you're going to cover. So again, there's a lot of ways that you can use Jaylen Hyatt, and again, this offseason, Jaylen Hyatt has been looking amazing. Last year, he looked amazing. They said, it looked like he put on weight. Some people said, what did you put on, like 15 pounds? And he was like, I put on something. This year, again, he didn't want to say how much he put on. Darius Slayton tried to say he put on like 15, 20 pounds. But if you look at Jaylen Hyatt, hopefully I'll remember to put a before and after. But if you look at Jaylen Hyatt right now, how he's looked in OTAs and in minicamp compared to last year and the year before, he actually for the first time looks noticeably bigger, like a guy that really put on a good amount of weight. And you would think that took away from his speed. It looks like his speed is still there. I don't know if it's, peak Tennessee speed, but it's still NFL speed. He's still getting down the field on guys. And if he is all of a sudden able to get off the line of scrimmage, that could open up a ton of things. Now, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and I'm sure Jackson Dart, but those two have both commented on Jalin Hyatt, and they both like his game. They both like, his ability, and he is just the perfect fit here. He's the perfect fit here if we can get the best out of him. His skill set, along with Slayton's skill set, along with Neighbors, if him and Slayton can be guys that stretch the field, and Slayton gives you the intermediate game, and Neighbors can go and stretch the field, guys should be open all over the place. And then you got Theo Johnson down the same. Guys should be open all over the place. And then you got Wanda Robinson underneath. So if all these guys, they should all make things happen for each other. And if Hyatt can become that third round pick that we drafted him to be, he is certainly going to be the perfect complement to this offense. So again, Darius Slayton, like I said, got paid again. And this pretty much means that the coaches are pretty much out. I wouldn't say they're completely out on Hyatt, but it shows that they are not even going to say, like, we're going to just go ahead and risk it and allow Darius Slayton to walk and allow this dude to develop. He has not earned that spot. And at the end of the day, whether the coaches have put him in the doghouse unfairly or not, there are some things that he has to get better at. And if he does, again, I really think this is the perfect spot for him. Now, preseason coming up. We got practice against the Jets coming up. You got Sauce Gardner. You're gonna get some good matchups. He's going this year against a Debo who he's kind of beat a couple times, which concerns me. But I'll let things play out. You can't really touch the receivers, which is his time to shine. But when training camp comes around and we have our joint practices and we have the preseason, and then we're gonna have those division games at the beginning. If we can get a huge play from him to start this season off, I think that would just go so far in motivating this football team and really showing fans that, like, expect to see some big plays. Expect to see some big plays for the Giants. Because with Neighbors getting attention, with Slayton getting attention, with Theo Johnson hopefully getting attention, hopefully the running game looks better, he should be able to make 5 or 6 plays this year. If he gets a decent amount of playing time, he should be able to make 5 or 6 plays this year over 40 yards. If he can do that, I think he's fulfilling his prophecy as a third round pick. Because if you get 5 or 6 plays over 40 yards, you're probably going to be at about 600 yards. You're probably going to be at about 18, 19 yards per catch. And that's exactly what we took him for. I don't think he's ever going to be at this point, he's too far in his career. I don't think he's ever going to be a serious wide receiver 2. But he could possibly be a wide receiver 3, a guy that, again, will be able to go over the top, will be able to always put fear in defenses, and hopefully we can get that for the next, what has he got, 2 more years on his deal. If we can get that in the next 2 years, I'll definitely sign up for it. So you all let me know what you're thinking of Hyatt going into this season. Are you falling for the okie doke again in training camp? I am waiting and seeing. I'm waiting and seeing until we see it in an actual game, but I'm cautiously optimistic.